Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today we're going to talk about the Bose 700 headphones, and they're wireless. I'm going to compare them to like Audiophile headphones and give a kind of Audiophile review of this. And I'm also going to compare it to like the AirPods Pro, some other wireless earbuds that you can use, and then kind of talk about the sound quality mostly. For the features, obviously this has Bluetooth, it's wireless, it has touch controls in the front, and it has also noise canceling, so it has all those fun features that are very convenient to use. So obviously, because if it's wireless and it's Bluetooth, the sound quality is not going to be as good as wired headphones because there's kind of loss in quality because it's wireless, right? But we'll talk about all the specifics, and we'll talk about build first and then sound. As always, please like and subscribe down below. It helps my videos out. And like seriously smash that like button because it really helps, that YouTube algorithm type stuff. So any like would be appreciated. Anyways, let's begin. All right, so let's talk about the build of this. So the Bose 700 is a very lightweight, fashionable headphone. It looks really good. And the padding on top, there's not much padding because, well, it's a lightweight headphone, so you don't really need much padding. It feels comfortable. And the ear cups are a little bit small, but I think it kind of makes it look sleeker because it gets closer to your ears. And these pads are nice and like plushy and soft, so there's not a problem. My ear fits perfectly in there, and I don't really have any hot spots. You can see kind of like, I think like microphones and stuff in here that kind of bulges out a little bit, but really it's not really an issue at all. And overall, it's kind of plastic mostly, to keep the weight down, I imagine, because they want this to be a lightweight, comfortable headphone. And the thing that I do have a gripe about is like the extension mechanisms are pretty cool, but they kind of move pretty easily too. They don't really seem to stay that well from my experience. And then the other thing is the buttons and controls. When I first got them, I was like, what do they do, right? There's like a button that has a Bluetooth sign right here. And there's two buttons that don't have any signs, so you don't know what they do. And then there's obviously touch functionality. But essentially, this is the on-off button, Bluetooth. This is the voice activation, and this is the changing your noise canceling levels. And then you have touch up here, so you can like swipe up and down and change volume up. You can go forward and backwards on track, and then click to start and stop. And the function's pretty easy, but nothing's really labeled, which I guess makes this product look a little bit cooler and sleeker because it's not labeled. But it also makes it a little harder to use, in my opinion. And yeah, that's pretty much about the build, right? All right, so how does the Bose 700 sound, right? So the Bose 700 sound kind of is bass heavy, definitely. Like there's definitely a enhanced bass in this headphone. I mean, I can clearly hear it when I compare it to like the AirPods Pro that's kind of tuned more normal, more neutral type of approach versus this one. It's just like pounding. Like the bass is literally just like pounding your ear, like straight up. And it's very thumpy and it's really fun. It's probably the most bass heavy headphone I've heard in a while. I think the only other headphone I've heard that's just as bassy, if not more bassy, is like the Sony XM4s. Those definitely have a lot of bass as well. But the thing is, even though it has a lot of bass, I don't think it really kind of takes over the like vocals. Like the vocals still come out really, really well. Like the male vocalist, female vocalist, they both just like appear very present, and they're tuned very well and they sound very clear. It's just that the bass and the vocalist are kind of like fighting in the same space because they're both very present at the same time. And I think that's a good thing because it doesn't sound like the bass is overshadowing everything. Like there's a lot of detail still in there because like the treble in this headphone still comes out. The female vocalists are really nice and clear, but they don't really get any harshness because I think this is very tuned very like safely by Bose. They purposely made the treble like detailed without going too far. And I think in that sense, like I think if this headphone had a little bit more treble, it would sound slightly more detailed. But obviously I understand that Bose most likely didn't want to do anything like that because they wanted this to be like a safe listening for like everybody. So I think that's why it's tuned like that, because when I was playing like games like Valorant, I noticed some of my gunshots just like could just use a little bit more like realism up there. Overall, I think this is really a bassy, fun and engaging experience. It's definitely, like I said, enhanced bass, but if you really like that stuff, you're listening to your EDM, you're listening to your pop, like music, it really, really does the job. Like I've had this much like bass fun in a while, and I was like, wow, I forgot that like headphones can actually like punch really hard with that much bass in there. Like it is definitely a different experience from more traditional audiophile headphones that really just don't have that much bass in general and can sound kind of boring. This is not boring for sure. So when it comes to like soundstage and imaging, so like, you know, how big things sound around you, I think the small ear cups with this like fashionable design makes it kind of not sound as like big and wide. I feel like it sounds really kind of small next to your ear versus like a headphone like this that has a bigger ear cup and bigger pads tend to sound more like enveloping around you type of feeling. So this headphone sounds a little small in comparison. And I would say when it comes to like imaging, so like where things are coming from, so I think it matters to me a lot in like gaming, like FPS gaming. I actually thought this headphone did a decent job. I think it's still very kind of left and rightish, but I think it's not the worst. I didn't really have that much trouble using it. So I think if you want to play some casual games with this, I think it's definitely good. Just remember, using it wired is, you have like lower latency versus using it wirelessly, you're gonna have a little bit more of a lag, and that's not recommended for those fast-paced games. So when I think of the Bose 700 compared to like audiophile headphones, I do think the bass on this is definitely a little too much in comparison versus like this headphone, the Shure 840A. It's more like a studio headphone that has a lot of bass. I think this is like the perfect amount of bass for me. It's like, it's definitely enhanced as well, but it's more even and it's not like overdone like this one is. And it's really fun as well. And then there's like more audiophile, like open back headphones that generally just don't have that much bass. And in my opinion, like those are kind of boring. So it's like my perfect bass level kind of would go in between like this, which is like the super consumer, the studio, and I would say like audiophile over here. I like these like studio type headphones. I think the bass is like the perfect amount in my opinion. Audiophiles are like way too less, and then consumer is just like way a lot. But I mean, it's a fun sound, and I don't have any problem listening to it, honestly. I think it's enjoyable, especially if you're listening like EDM. So the Bose 700 in comparison to AirPods Pro, like I said, I think the Bose is a lot more fun sounding in the bass. It's definitely emphasized. And the treble and everything above like the bass, like the mid-range, the treble region, I feel like this and the AirPods don't sound that different. I think the main difference really is the bass. And I think if you like bass, the Bose is the obvious answer. Well, if you want something to sound more clear and more, I guess, normal, neutral, I think this AirPods Pro will give you that type of sound. And the other thing I think is worth noting is that the AirPods Pro can kind of do basically everything this does. Obviously it's an in-ear, but it can still do wireless, and it also has noise canceling, and it fits in your pocket. So I think when you're choosing between something like this and this, it's like this one could fit in your pocket while this one's more of a carry around type of case type of stuff. So it's kind of bigger and bulkier. So it's up to people what they want, but obviously these are like $150 and these are like $350-ish. So there is a price difference between these. So if you're going for that, you know, fun sound quality, you can go for the Bose. So in conclusion, do I recommend the Bose 700? I definitely do. I think it has a very fun signature, and it doesn't really, the bass doesn't like overwhelm everything and just make everything sound like not that great. It's actually tuned very well in my opinion. I think people will have a lot of fun and enjoy this headphone. Like I listen to more lighter, more delicate type stuff on it, and it does fine in that as well. So I definitely recommend the Bose 700. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my videos out. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.